Hello, welcome back. Thought I would do a kind of weekend reading, various kind of catch up video today. Just have a bit of spare time on my hands. Well, I say spare. I'm procrastinating basically. I have a bunch of stuff to do. I'm not doing. But I've been very tired this week, so thought it's just a bit of rest and relaxation. And I have the house to myself, apart from my two doggies. So I thought I would do a video. It's quite nice. My spouse has taken a part-time job that gets them out of the house usually on a Saturday or Sunday. So I have kind of a morning, early afternoon to myself once a week in the house, which is I haven't really had that since 2020. So even though I love spending time with my spouse, it is also kind of nice to have a little bit of alone time where I can just kind of make videos or read, kind of do whatever I want to do. Yeah, it's actually been quite nice. So yeah, just potting around, made a cup of tea, and thought I would make a video. So I guess just a few updates, personal updates. Probably do that first. Everything's going really well with Lockie, the dog that we fostered in Boxing Day. We got him Boxing Day. He is just off camera. There's the door is just there, and he is just lying down just in front of the door there. I would pan down, but I'm not sure if it would be a very smooth transition. And he's kind of resting, so I leave him to it. He's still a bit anxious in general. He's on anxiety medication, so once he's settled, I tend to try and just leave him be. But everything's going really well. We've integrated him with a boy, our dog we adopted out in 2019. Who also had a lot of anxiety issues when we got him. So I think definitely we were a good fit for fostering Lucky. They get along now. They have the little squabbles here and there. They're both very food motivated, in different ways, which is quite fun to watch. But yeah, so they can sometimes have a little bit of squabbles over if the other one got more treats or not. But for the most part, they get on, and it does feel like they're plotting together to get more treats out of us, and it works a lot of the time. But yeah, it's been really lovely, and we've definitely fallen in love with him. We're still hoping to get him adopted out, but he's an 8-year-old dog with behavioral issues and potentially early signs of arthritis in at least one of his back legs. So I think it's going to be a tall order to get him adopted, but we're still hopeful. But if not, he'll just end up staying here forever, I'm sure. Other news, I guess. I broke my phone in it must have been like mid-January now. Very carelessly, I did that stupid thing where I have a grey case. I have an OtterBox case, but I've never had a screen protector on it. And one of the reasons I never did the screen protector is I don't know if anyone knows much about the OtterBox cases, but it's pretty substantial. And the one thing is, it's quite heavy. So generally, at any time you drop your phone, it will like a cat almost. It will always tend to rotate onto and land on the OtterBox side, not on the screen side. So I've never had any issues. I'm not particularly someone that's particularly prone to scratching the phone. So I never bothered having a screen protector. And actually, I have a very great story. When I worked at the feed mill, I was up at the top of one of the grain silos, which has got to be at least 20 foot, maybe 30 foot off the ground. And I dropped my phone, and it landed. It landed on the OtterBox side down, and I kid you not, that phone, you could I've had worse. Um, I've had worse outcomes dropping my phone from my hand on ground level previously. This OtterBox was it, and it didn't even look like the OtterBox had got it didn't look like there was much damage to the OtterBox as well. So that thing was fantastic. But what happened is the rubber is starting to come off the OtterBox, which means that's the rubber around it is basically what keeps the phone in. So the phone has a tendency to slide out a bit, and I did the stupid thing where I've just popped the phone out of the OtterBox, put it down on what I thought was a flat surface, but it wasn't, and it just slipped right off and landed. But the actual really stupid thing was, this happened once, and the phone was fine. I picked it up and I put it right back on that surface. I don't know what I was thinking. And it just slipped right off again. And that time it smashed the screen. It's actually still usable. But I needed to get a new phone. It's an iPhone XR10. It's 5 years old. Like, I got it in 2019. So it's 5 years old at the end of the year. So yeah, I think it was probably about time. And so this is the first video I am filming on my new phone, I believe. I upgraded to an iPhone 13. It's a 3-generation difference, and it's huge. It's actually, for quality-wise, it's actually a huge jump. I feel like the video and the photos it's so much sharper. But I had stayed on my original contract, and it kind of just was a really bad contract and after a while, so I actually am paying less. I changed like some of the details, but I'm actually paying less now for better service and with a new phone. I went for a refurbished phone, so it's actually only $10 a month to pay for the phone. It's still really expensive because Canada has some of the most expensive phone contracts in the world, so it's still a bit of a kick in the teeth, but at least I'm actually paying less than what I was. And that's been a big drive of this year, is just try and cut as much unnecessary spending. It's definitely been a bit of a wild ride in our finances, what with my spouse losing their job and the cost of living going up, inflation was pretty high for a while there. It's also mortgage renewal year for us, so I'm hoping not for too much of an increase, but it's probably going to be at least a little bit. But otherwise, we're in pretty good standing. So I did cancel my gym membership. I wasn't really utilizing it as much. So I guess that's probably another $70 of savings. And I think I cancelled a bunch of our streaming platforms subscriptions. So that's saved us another at least $50 a month. So I feel like we were on a good trend, and it hasn't been too painful. And I guess the only other thing, I got to sort out the home internet, because we're still on the rural satellite internet, and we have had fiber installed within the last couple of years. So I think I'm just gonna switch over to fiber, and that should actually be less money too. So, and that will be kind of the end of the cost saving measures. So just hope to reap the rewards for the rest of the year. So yeah, there's that. What else has happened? Oh, I had a big fall about a week and a half ago. That's probably been the biggest thing that's happened to me recently. Had a big fall. Just kind of carelessly, was a little bit late for work, was jockeying like 2 cars around, because now that my spouse is having to go into work like 3 times a week, sometimes have to just move the cars in the driveway depending who's leaving first. But I went a bit too quick. I put my foot down on a bit of ice, and it just went straight from under me. And I went down pretty hard. I'm usually pretty good at falling, but somehow I managed to really just like massively bruise my ribs. Um, even though I did land on my arm, and I did the usual kind of just slight rolling technique, or whatever, so that you're dissipating the force over your body rather than all on one part of your body. But I still managed to really mess up my ribs there, and now that I'm in my 40s, I really feel like my super quick healing is definitely slowed down a fair bit. So a week and a half and I'm still in a fair amount of pain. It's now really, actually, when I first did it, it wasn't affecting my sleep that much. I was able to just get comfortable and just fall asleep. Now I feel like it's actually affecting me more, and it sometimes just gets me in funny positions or just makes me stay still for longer, because moving and coughing, sneezing, anything like that really is what sets it off the most. Um, and so that actually then has been leading to my back being a lot more kind of seizing up a bit more, which isn't great, especially at work. I have to get up every 20 minutes, half an hour to make sure I'm stretching it out. But hopefully, other than that, I think hopefully I will get, it feels like it's on the mend a little bit, so hopefully it'll get a bit better. And I'll be up and running. There's definitely like just being in pain and then you're just tired all the time. It has affected my reading a little bit. I've only read 3 books this year. Usually I read 3 to 4 just in January. January and February are usually slower months for me in terms of life, but actually with changing my job role in October, I moved to a job that has a lot of a backlog. It's returns and warranties basically. So there's a massive backlog, and it's the kind of backlog that needs to be, and everyone is looking to be cleared up as quickly as possible, because there's a lot of money on the line, and there's a timeline that's constantly ticking down. So yeah, I'm on it, but it's the days are quite stressful right now, and there's never enough time in the day to really feel like you've achieved enough that day. And it's not like I'm just clearing a backlog. There's constant more stuff coming in that needs to be dealt with as well. So it's a fine balance between I'm trying to submit and deal with all the new stuff and do the backlog as well, and I don't have a lot of the information for the backlog and stuff, so some of it requires me doing a lot of research and digging, but it's really enjoyable. Though. I'm still loving the job, and it's very much more in my wheelhouse of skills and abilities and experience that I've gained over my 20 plus years of working. So I'm definitely suited to this style of work for sure. So yeah, it's going good, and even if I don't end up continuing with it in this job, I hope to continue with returns and warranties in another company. So I definitely would like to continue down the road that I've set myself, which is always exciting when you feel like your professional life is a bit more fulfilling. I've had a lot of jobs where it's turned into just where you're just going in for the money. I've always tried to work jobs that feel more important than just making someone else a bunch of money. And this job, it certainly has that element, but it also does feel like I'm offering an important service too. So yeah, I like to be more fulfilled. I like to try to be more of a benefit to society than not when I can. So yeah, I'm definitely enjoying it right now. In terms of reading, I finished a couple books recently. I don't know why I picked it up. I I just saw this in my collection, and I guess I'd been watching a lot of Andrew's videos. From his channel is It Came From The Page, and he's super into novelizations, and I just found this in my collection. It's the X-Files Goblins. This is the first novelization. No, it's not even novelization, sorry. It's the first tie-in book, first adult tie-in book to the X-Files series. I believe this was written in 95 or 96. Oh, it's actually 94. So it's pretty early on, actually, for when did X-Files come out, like 92, 93? So I mean, X-Files was pretty cult when it started. Like, it was pretty quick to get a cult fandom. So I really feel like it's capitalizing on some of the great, really the great fandom period of the X-Files before it got super ridiculous at the end. It was enjoyable. It was weird. It was strange. It's a great cover, though. I love the cover. It was a bit strange in the sense of it wasn't just Mulder and Scully. There was 2 other FBI agents along with them. The only other X-Files book I've read is one of the, I guess you probably call it young adult now. And it's probably more similar to that than anything else. The violence was, or the gore was definitely turned up more. The language was a little bit more advanced, maybe, but it did feel like it had a bit more in common with that than anything else. It was fun, though. It was generally fun. The characterizations of Mulder and Scully were slightly different than what I remember from the TV series. I guess the greatest thing about this book is it made me go back to watch X-Files from the start, because so if it came out in 92, 93, I would have been like 9 or 10. 8, 9, 10, kind of when it first came out, so I was a bit too young to have seen the first 2 or 3 series. I think I probably started watching from about season 4 onwards, maybe. I can't remember the history too much. I definitely remember, was it Eugene Toombs? That was definitely one of the first episodes I probably watched, and the Toombs episodes were creepy as well. So I feel like that was a bit of was a pretty creepy introduction to the X-Files. But yeah, definitely going back to watch it, and I think I've watched the first 2 or 3 episodes now. And yeah, it's a great rewatch, though. If you haven't watched X-Files for a while, go back and watch it. I think it still holds up. Some of the special effects, and it's more if they've used any kind of CGI stuff, is a bit more clunky. Where they've still relied on prosthetics and just like kind of the old school special effects, I think that still held up quite well. But yeah, I just it was good, and I think X-Files, it really, I was thinking about this the other day, but I think when it came out, it really hit the zeitgeist. I think it must have been 93, actually, because I think it came out, I think the first season aired about 6 months after Waco. I believe Waco was the early 93. And a year before Waco was Ruby Ridge, and so even if you weren't aligned with the politics or believed in the kind of any social aspect of Ruby Ridge and Waco, most people agreed that it was a complete overreaction by the US government, like the different government agencies. So the level of trust in US law enforcement was pretty low, and also the Rodney King assault by police, and the LA riots were in 92 as well, right? So just the level of distrust of all law enforcement in the US was pretty low amongst most of society. And so I feel like here comes this show, which is kind of very conspiratorial. It's good in that the main protagonists are FBI agents, but they're also, like in Mulder's sense, also kind of working from the inside to expose lies and corruption of the higher ups. So that's a very good way to go about it, where you can kind of have your cake and eat it too. But yeah, I think it really fed into that distrust, and people really willing to lean into conspiracy theories. And I really think a lot of the conspiracy theories in the 90s were a lot more grounded in reality. Like, they were a lot more believable than like some of the conspiracy theory or stuff you hear now just seems a little off the wall. But the true test of a good conspiracy theory is actually believability, and this was very much believable that the US government could be hiding alien landings and using alien technology and other stuff for sinister means. I think it's still very believable, even though I don't really believe in aliens. But if there were something, or not necessarily don't believe in aliens, but just don't believe in alien contact with the Earth. But if it were to happen, then I can imagine governments would use it for their own means and not tell anyone. Anyway, but so the book was decent. It passed the time. I think I gave it a 3 out of 5 on Goodreads. Star ratings don't really mean anything, but it was enjoyable. It passed the time. It was decently written. I know Charles L. Grant has done a bunch of or is it Charles L. Grant or just Charles Grant? I know he's done a bunch of his own sci-fi novels. I think he's been a novelist since at least the 70s. So he's well grounded in sci-fi, and he did a decent job. I think it's always hard doing a tie-in novel, especially to something so that has such a cult fandom. I think there was only 6 in the series or something, so they never really took off as novel tie-ins. And I totally see why that is. But if you ever see it in a thrift store like I did, it's definitely worth $1. And then the other book I finished was a crime novel from probably like 1943. It's called Killing the Goose by Francis and Richard Lockridge. It's a Mr. and Mrs. North mystery. It's a really beat up copy. I just got this out of a free little library. It's kind of right in the heart of some of the main cottages around here, so probably someone had been reading it out on the dock, and even just the free little library is not that weatherproof, so I'm not surprised it's got a bit of water damage and stuff. I'm just gonna throw it right out, or maybe I'll just take off the dust jacket and see about throwing it in a little free little library again. But I'm definitely getting rid of it. It was a good little book. Mr. and Mrs. North are definitely in the vein of Nick and Nora Charles from The Thin Man, as like especially the movie version of them. It was a basic mystery novel, very similar, I would say. I don't know if you know much about the history of crime novels, but right around the golden age, kind of the golden age of British crime novels, probably around 1910, 1920 to 1940s-ish. Agatha Christie's the peak Agatha Christie career is right in the golden age, and she also went much beyond the golden age too. But so as at the tail end of the Golden Age, and just after it, there was a series of authors, or a style of crime books, that were dubbed the humdrums, mainly because they were okay. They did what they were asked to, but there wasn't any flair. There wasn't any. Nothing really stood out. Everything was just basically humdrum. I feel like this really felt more like that. It was probably had more in common with the humdrums than it did with Golden Age British, or any kind of hard-boiled, any kind of really American crime writing. It focused on a middle-class couple who intervene, get involved in the crimes because their best friend is a lieutenant in the police force. So they regularly have dinner with him and his wife. What is fun about this book is it's the wife who's really into the crime solving. I feel like it's almost quite modern day, in the sense that like if Mrs. North was around now, she'd be obsessed with true crime podcasts. It's that kind of, and then the husband, Mr. North, would just be like, whatever, that's your thing. But he's supportive. He's like not supportive, but supportive. He's like kind of playing it down and say, "Oh, don't get involved this time. Like, just let the lieutenant do his job." But anytime that she kind of gets into a little bit of trouble, that he's there to help her out, even if it's reluctantly. It was fun in that sense. What's really stood out is there was a really kind of like Rush Limbaugh / Donald Trump style radio host who had a really, definitely, maybe more of a Rush Limbaugh, actually. He had really like that kind of style, and they all hated him. They all hated him because I guess they were like ever so slightly liberal. But it was very. I mean, and this was actually set in 1943. I think it was written in 1943. They're talking about the war, and they're talking about, and they're listening to the news, and they're kind of talking about how hard it is to listen to the news every night and hearing about all the, like, what's going on in the war, but also how they kind of also need to listen to the news every night. That was the most interesting thing, was a really fresh experience. Like this book was written and published before anyone knew what the outcome was going to be, and there definitely were points in the Second World War that it really looked like that the Nazis were going to have significant wins in at least Europe. So that was a really interesting kind of take on, because I haven't read a lot of novels that are written in the mid to late 40s that actually explicitly really mention the war, that isn't their main like reason for to be written, but for just like a crime book and stuff, it's less common for them to actually bridge the subject. So it was decent, and it was funny because it is a Mr. and Mrs. North mystery, but they kind of got involved, but not super involved. It's not like some of these ones where the amateur detective just like takes over and the police are completely stumped, and like the police kind of gotta get to the same conclusion as Mrs. North, if maybe slightly behind it, but it was it was okay. It passed the time. Both these books were pretty easy reads that passed the time and were fun. Nothing to write home about. You can find most of the Francis and Richard Lockridge series, Mr. and Mrs. North series books on ebook. So if you're ever interested, I think they're all under $10, I think. So they're fairly easy if you're interested, you can read one yourself. But it's something that I would read another one if I found it, but I'm not gonna go out looking for them. Yeah, so I'm definitely glad I read it. Though. Definitely, it's not never a waste of time just reading a basic mystery book. And I don't really know anything much other. I just started reading The Executioner, number 16, The Sicilian Slaughter. I would say I'm reading it for Criminoli's Wasted Weekend, the Garb August tie-in event, just a weekend in February. I would say that I'm intentionally reading it for that, but I actually forgot that it was happening this weekend, and I already started the book, so it was just a little... I read a lot of trash, and so anytime there's a trash event on, it's a good chance I'm reading it anyway, so I don't have to really take too much notice. But if you are interested, yes, read along this weekend. It's a long weekend here in Canada, so I have 3 days of reading. Not that I'm going to be reading for all 30 days because I have so much stuff to do, but I have 3 days of reading. So hopefully I can get at least 1.5 books, 2 books finished for that. So yeah, if you feel like fancy reading any trash books, I'll try and make the second book that I start a non-men's adventure, maybe a non-crime book too, because March Mystery Madness is coming right up. So I probably will invariably read a couple of crime novels, probably more actually read some mystery novels for that, thing as this March Mystery Madness, not necessarily just a crime. It is more of a mystery event. So yeah, I'll try and read some trash that's not men's adventure or crime related. I have some. I actually probably have a lot of sci-fi trash actually. So maybe I'll maybe do some sci-fantasy or something. Try and keep Michael K. Vaughan happy there. By reading some sci-fi trash. But yeah, anyway, if you fancy reading along for the Garb August Wasted Weekend, do so and let me know what you're reading. Always on the lookout for trashy book recommendations. But yeah, just let me know how you're doing in general. I always like to find out what people are up to and how their life's going. And even though I've had a bit of a rough start to the year, the problems are pretty minor, other than my health issue, which is me more whining than anything serious. Like, I didn't go to hospital or anything. It's literally just bruised ribs, which we all know take a while to fully heal anyway. Even if you're 20, they take a while to heal. I've bruised my ribs so many times in my life just from playing rugby and other contact sports that you just always forget how long it takes for them to really get better. Other than that, like, I really can't complain. There's definitely people in much worse situations than me. So I'm enjoying life as much as I can right now. So no need to feel sorry for me. I was just having a bit of a whine fest. But yeah, let me know how you're doing and what you're up to and what you're reading. Just all the general talk, and hopefully I'll be on here again soon doing a tag or another top 10 video. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm going to be doing, but I will try to post more frequently, and I will try to post a little more content this weekend. So you have a really good day, and catch you later. Bye.